Welcome. This is the Richard B. Morning Show, and it's now time for the big story. So the Kingston and St. Andrew Municipal Corporation is satisfied, we understand, with the cleanup preparations and even after Carnival 2025. The National Solid Waste Management Authority led the cleanup efforts, and in fact, we want to get a comment this morning or two from the Executive Director of the National Solid Waste Management Authority, NSWMA, from the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Audley Gordon, my good friend. Morning, Audley. How are you doing today, my brother?
Morning, Richie. Morning to your listeners. I'm in very, very good spirits. Very good spirits, Richie. Giving thanks.
All right. Glad to hear that. So Carnival came, and it came to a crescendo yesterday, Audley, and it came to a conclusion. Can you provide some kind of an initial assessment of the cleanup efforts? Were there any notable changes over last year, for instance?
Happy to do that, Richie. Significant changes over last year. You will recall that we had a massive cleanup post-Carnival last year because things broke down in terms of the planning for cleanup. And this year, we decided to do more forward planning, meeting with the different bands and the various promoters. And we worked out an arrangement, a set of criteria, and, pretty much put the protocols that would have prevented the debacle of last year. And in far away, I must say, we have succeeded. Mm-hmm. We were able to clear all the garbage, the heavy garbage from Carnival before midnight last night. And we still have some little mopping up to do because some of the parties went later than some, especially on Hope Road. There are some areas where there, as we speak, doing cleanup, but not heavy like last year, nowhere near last year, just doing some cleanup. So in a one sentence, we have done significantly better with cleanup this year.
Over last year.
If one should remind themselves about last year, we have done significantly better this year. And we at this time can report a success in terms of the post-Carnival cleanup.
What were some of the areas that you had that required the most attention during the cleanup, and why?
All right, so for those not familiar with the goings-on of Carnival, the road march is what most people will talk about, but the road march usually is one of the events that move along pretty quickly in some instances. What is where the challenge usually occur is where they have what is called the watch parties. This is where you see parties set up, there's along Trafalgar Road, in the vicinity of the S supermarket, there's one. You have on Knutsford Boulevard, you have one up by Arden Road and Trafalgar intersection. You have one near the Devon House entrance. There you have them all over the place. You have a big one up at Hope Road in the vicinity of the Ronnie Williams Center there. So those parties are where people congregate and they have their fun and and so on. And those usually incur a lot of littering. And so it is those that we would have concentrated a lot of our efforts on to make sure that even while we follow the road march and clean behind it, that we are on top of the watch parties that happen long after the road march is gone.
Okay. Are you in a position this morning to sort of report on the volume of waste collected and the types of waste that you've had to manage during the cleanup exercise?
To give you the volume would be a little early because we are still cleaning, doing some final cleaning up and so on. I can give you those figures later on during the course of the day, but the character of the waste is generally water bottles, those kind of fast food boxes, drinks cup, stuff like that. There's a lot of drinking, the people, they would have burned quite a bit of energy and sweat, and so they drink a lot of fluid and so on. So there's a lot of drinks cups, a lot of plastic bottles, a lot of, biscuits, stuff, those kind of light stuff.
Okay.
That we would see, and that's the general character of Carnival garbage.
Yes.
And you will see from the costumes too. You will see costumes, little pieces of costume that
feathers falling off and all that kind of stuff.
But winding up themselves too much, man.
Oh boy, I tell you, did the public respond positively to the waste management initiatives and instructions that were given during the event?
In large measure, we did have, Carnival have a lot of different sides to it, Richie. For example, you should see the bikers last night and the stunts they were doing. And I'm not here sanctioning anything. I'm I'm just saying people come out and have fun in many different ways. A lot of, sports cars and bikes especially. And they really put on quite a show. And sometimes, cleanup effort would have been set back a little bit. Because, we don't get the freedom in the space that we would like. But the police were out, our enforcement units were out. Kudos to the guys from MPM and all the people who, KCC and their municipal police also, our MPM staffers, every sanitation workers, everybody who came out, we understand. We didn't have any preconceived like this will be a free and easy exercise. We know that there would be challenges. People are having fun. It's not everybody ready to go home yet. Are you ready to go home? No. So that people will linger along and so we anticipated that. We I would say in large measure things went very, very well. Give and take a few, issues here and there. Not anything to write home about.
Okay. I'm glad you mentioned all of the different participants and players involved, because that was one of the things I wanted to ask you to do specifically, to sort of thank all of those who have helped you and your team to put it all together so that we can report, as you are this morning, that Kingston is pretty much clean. But what about the use of paint and defacing of walls? Was that a problem this year?
Not much of that this year at all, Richie. Not much of that. And those are some of the discussions we had going in to Carnival. And you see, a lot happens when we communicate, you hear a lot of people talk about communication, the importance of communication, and the destruction that can come when we don't communicate. Look, when we sit down and talk, we'll achieve we had a lot of meetings going in with the different promoters and the police, all the players involved. Mayor Swaby hosted quite a few meetings at his office. We had some at our offices. We had joint meetings. And so there are a lot of things that were talked through before we get to the Carnival itself. And so on. And going forward, I suggest that whether I'm at the NSWMA or not, I suggest that these kind of things, because the personnel will move on, but some principles will stick. And so I hope that we keep the dialogue and make sure that we talk through, establish the protocols so that on the day we execute without any dissonance. It was a great event overall, and I believe that a lot of the successes would have been because of the pre-meetings that were held.
So even with the success that you would have had in the cleaning up exercises, I suspect that you might still be having post-Carnival meetings to sort of assess how it all went, and maybe even with the promoters to see how things can be improved going forward.
Absolutely important that there is the relevant debriefing sessions, and those will be held. Whatever you do, irrespective of whether it's a national or even your personal lives, you do something, you put on an event, you put on any form of programs and so on. You want to look back at it to see what you could have done differently, to see where there are areas that you could improve, to see where there is any hiccup that could have been avoided. So the debriefing is always very important, and we will do that.
All right. In closing, Audley, do you know the name Audley Gordon?
Audley Gordon happens to be. she tells people that she's my favorite daughter. I only have one daughter.
Okay.
But she's good, man. She's a great person. And she's a 14-year-old student at Arden, and of course she is into music.
Big time.
I'm not gonna say she took it from her father, but she's into music, and she have so far had out there 5 recordings out there now, and 2 to be released next week. By next week, thereabout, another 2 to be released, and so on. And so people can listen out for her. And yes, she's on social media at official Audley Gordon Music. You will MUSIK. So I'll send the thing to you, Richie, so you can share with your listeners. Will be very, very happy.
Let me tell you.
One of her big songs is that cover version that she do from Dobie Gray, If Love Must Go, is doing very well.
Okay.
If Love Must Go. But she also have an original song that we wrote together called Solution.
Okay.
And that's going to be a big tune. I want to get some encouragement on the airwaves.
Okay.
But she's doing well. She loves music. She's happy in the studio. When she have a studio session, she's at her happiest. And
let me tell you,
she have a future there.
Very much so. I'm very impressed. I didn't even realize she was that young, because I listened to One Life to Live, which I'm about to play, and she really, really nailed that song. I think she's definitely one for the future, Audley, and give her as much encouragement and support as you can. We will do as well. All right?
I really, really appreciate that.